Good evening, everyone. This is Mitch. Hope you all have had a great work week. And as we're entering our weekend, there's a couple things to talk about. And what we're going to break down in this video is really talk about the pattern going forward for the second half of October and maybe taking a brief look into the early part of November. I mentioned in my community tab today, I made a post talking about the potential for maybe a cooler pattern setting up. It's hard for me to say cold for this time of the year because it just depends on where you live and what you consider cold. But it looks like there is going to be the chance for frequent cold fronts here in the short, the medium to long-term future. So that means that some areas are going to get their first frost, first freeze, and potentially first snowfall, as there really hasn't been any mention of snow in the eastern U.S. so far. But we're starting to get to that time of the year where higher elevations, especially and mainly in the Northeast, start seeing their first fall snowfall. It's always beautiful to see the snow mixed in with the fall foliage. I would love to experience something like that. But some signals in the patterns are there for maybe a cooler second half of October. We've pretty much been baking, almost hit 90 degrees here in Columbia, South Carolina, where I am currently living. And it has just been very warm and uncomfortable and not fall like in the eastern U.S. So we're about to break that tomorrow. So we'll briefly talk about the cold front, and then we'll talk about some things going forward here. So if you guys have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Like the video if you like it. There's a way to support my channel by joining it. I don't have anything to offer right now, but in the future, like I've mentioned many times before, I am going to get that going. I'll get my new computer in about a week or a week and a half, so my stuff will be upgrading here. So thank you all for the amazing support. If there's anything I can pray about, put it in the comments. It gives me an opportunity to pray for y'all. Gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get going here. So tomorrow, our cold front, these are dew points, symbolizes moist and dry air. Our cold front's going to be moving through as we get into tomorrow morning. Here it is. Cold front's already draped pretty much across most of the Mid-South, Ohio Valley, and Deep South. It is moving in advance forward as we get into the afternoon. So by the time you get into early afternoon hours, it's starting to move. It's done cleared most of West Virginia, half of Pennsylvania, part of New York. I can run through all the states here for you if you want me to. It's starting to clear the southern Alps, Appalachian Mountains, clearing North Georgia. It's pretty much cleared the entire state of Alabama and starts really working its way throughout the evening hours through the Carolinas, Georgia, and basically the rest of the East Coast. And you'll notice it because say you're in the central areas of South Carolina, the eastern areas of North Carolina and Virginia and southeast Georgia, you'll notice you'll wake up, it'll be very humid. It'll warm up very quickly, but sometime in the afternoon, it'll probably be accompanied by a big gust of wind. The cold front will move through, and within 1 to 2 to maybe 3 hours, you'll start to notice there's a different feel in the air. That is the cold front that's moved through, and that is the dry air moving through. And by the time we wake up Sunday morning, it'll be downright chilly in certain areas. Areas maybe hitting the 40s that have not seen the 40s yet. But very big time cold front. This is a pattern changing cold front for sure. As far as rain associated with this cold front, there'll be some severe weather actually ongoing portions of the Mid-South like Tennessee, Kentucky, and basically a weakening line of storms associated with the cold front will begin to weaken overnight as you lose daytime heating. And then it will have a chance to refire up again tomorrow evening in areas of eastern North Carolina, Virginia. And there will be a small severe weather threat along this. It's not going to be a big deal, but basically, depending on how quick this cold front moves through, it really depends on your location and if you see any storms tomorrow. But that moves through. The rain threat is gone, and here comes fall. So looking forward here, what we got going on here is basically the oscillations, and we have the PNA, basically the NAO, and the EPO. We'll talk a lot more about this as we get more and more deeper into the colder months. But basically, one thing I'm looking at right now is the PNA. It's basically a forecast that can be in place that promotes ridging or troughing, or pretty much introduces the source of a cold air, and whatever patterns in place can unleash very cold air, or it can provide ridging, which means very warm air for that time of the year. So we look at this, and this is PNA, which stands for Pacific North American, and basically this is a pattern. So what's happening here is currently which is, what is it, October 16th, 15th. Currently, we're right here, so we're in a negative PNA right now. That normally supports ridging in the east and troughing. Oh, yeah, ridging in the east and troughing in the west, which means to kind of scale it down for you guys, that means that you have warmer on average temperatures on the east coast and cooler than average temperatures on the west coast. Trough, I use that term a lot, but trough means cold front. So anytime you hear me use that, I'm talking about a cold front. So look at this. As we're getting more into the next 5 days of October, this becomes basically even here. And then as we get into the latter part of October, basically the rest of October, the PNA goes positive, which supports more cold fronts, frequent cold fronts for the eastern U.S., which would mean we have more cool downs. Yes, this won't be basically a sustained pattern. You'll still have quick warm-ups for a day or two, but you will not have any kind of lack of cold front. So basically it might warm up for a day or two and then another cold front blast through for a few days, and then a warm up for a day and then another cold front blast through for several days. So that's the kind of pattern I'm seeing. So what I'm basically saying is there's a chance that each one of these cold fronts could be more and more powerful or less and less powerful, which means provides the chance for certain areas to see the first frost, first freeze pretty far south. Who knows? So we look here, we look at basically 500 millibar heights here, and this basically will show the blues and it'll show the reds. The reds that you see is basically ridging. The blues you see is troughing. So you notice this blue pops up here. This is pretty far out. We're looking at the pattern, large scale pattern, very far out. This is not always accurate, but it kind of gives us an idea of maybe something we could start to look forward to as we get pretty far out. And no, it's not always accurate. It's not. But they made this for a reason. It's guidance, so we're checking it out. So we're starting to get into midway through the last week of October. You see these blues here? It's really lightly tinted, and you see these bars kind of bending up and then bending down. That's basically symbolizing a big chance for some large scale ridging all the way up into Canada, and then it kind of comes down. That symbolizes a cold front and troughing, a dips in the jet stream. So that is really when you start to see the effects of that positive PNA. And moving forward, yes, you don't see any crazy blues around here, and it looks like the pattern might go zonal, and that's what I'm talking about. There'll be periods where it might warm up for a couple days, and then we'll get more cold fronts. And then look at this. And way on down the road, maybe as we're getting into early November, the pattern looks, and I know you're looking at this and you're saying, well, that doesn't look very cold. I don't see any blues anywhere. Well, you know, average temperatures for the first week in November, for some areas that supports snow. So you notice there's still a little bit of ridging right here. There's a little bit of dips in the jet stream. So that would support average to slightly below average temperatures for the central to eastern part of the U.S. And this looks to continue, maybe even getting a little bit more stout here through mid-November. But guys, this is getting almost a month out. So it's very far out. It's really hard to tell what's going to happen here. But basically, what we can take from this is I don't see any warm-up in the eastern U.S. after this cold front anytime soon. Yes, there'll be a 1 or 2 day event where it'll get warm again, and I'll show you this. So let's go back to dew points. What we're looking here is we're going to get a look past this cold front. So the cold front moves through, blasts through. This is the first one. Then check out how the moisture modifies in the east, if you will. So we're getting into midway next week. You're thinking, okay, well, where's all our nice crisp dew points? Well, they all advance northward ahead of another cold front. So we get into next weekend. Another cold front moves through. This is more of a stout digging cold front from more of the north as opposed from the northwest, which would support our thinking for a positive PNA as you have more ridging up here and more trough digging to the east. Now look at these dew points. They're very dry. They're in the teens to 20s. That would tell us, and that would tell me that, hey, there's the potential for this to be much more of a colder air mass moving through. And this moves through, and then check out, the moisture tries to rise again, and then another cold front moves through. So this one makes it all the way almost to Cuba. But that's what I'm saying here. It shows frequent cold fronts moving through. You look at temperature anomalies as far as temperatures compared to average to this particular time of the year. Well, look at this colder pattern that moves through over the next couple days, stays chillier than normal across most of the eastern U.S. throughout basically the end of the weekend into early next week. And then look, it looks like it warms up for a couple days. We're getting to next weekend, and here comes another big time colder air mass. And this looks even colder as we're getting into the last week of October. So it looks like, and going forward, it doesn't really look like any kind of big warm up. Now you look at all the reds over here. That is because you're having ridging, so it's above average temperatures over there. You look at the European dew points again, shows that first cold front moving through, shows moisture modifying in the east briefly, then another cold front moves through and basically reinforces the chillier air. And this only goes out to 10 days, but at day 10, which is October, the morning of October 25th, it looks like you have a nice fall air mass in place. So if this continues to show up, we'll show this. We'll look at the, we'll go all the way through the GFS. This continues to show up, then we might have some snow that starts to show its face a little bit. Not for the south, not even close. But maybe for the northeast, we get this system that moves through. We get into midway next week. Sorry, guys, I've been fighting a little bit of a cold. Check out this storm system. This is basically a big-time trough digging here. A surface low tries to ride this, and you have a big-time snow event potentially. I'm saying big time, but this is so far out. Maybe a snow event in southeast Canada, and a big old cool ridge of basically high pressure moves down. And this is, I'm watching this system right here. This has been showing up. I know this is a low pressure way out here, but this is the kind of thing you see basically in the winter when you're looking for a winter storm in the southeast. You got cold air trying to move the funnel in, and you have a low pressure that's flirting with interacting with the southeast. Now, that's not going to be the case. You know, no winter storm in October, guys. Definitely not. But you have to watch this, as it looks like this trough suppresses this system down south. We'll have to watch that. It'll be interesting to really watch this. And if this big time cold air mass moves through, this could fire off some lake effect snow or rain bands, and definitely get a little bit of snow cranking up in the higher elevations in the northeast. And check it out. There's the blues at 9 to 10 days out, so not super far out, still pretty far out. And check out the blues starting to show up in the lower 48. So it's definitely stuff we have to watch out for. I think we're going to enter a little bit more of active times coming up. There'll be some more things to talk about here in the future, but I really think we're going to flip the pattern here starting tomorrow. And yes, some brief warm-ups mixed in, but I really think we're going to have sustained troughing, which is sustained reinforcing cold fronts in the eastern U.S. here in the future. So that's all I got, guys. Y'all have a great start to your weekend. I'll get y'all an update tomorrow. God bless all y'all. Thank y'all for the support. Have a good night.